Hello, I'm Malcolm Harslett.
I'm Janice Baker. Everyone has a backstory, and those who came to Australia from different cultures gave our cities their diversity. In this episode, we'll be finding out more about the Simchoon family.
And what's happening with solar power and the batteries that everyone is now talking about. Find out next on
Our Time.
I thought I would dress appropriately today, and you've almost done the same.
A little bit of sparkle doesn't hurt now and again.
Well, I just thought I'd wear. I love this jacket. But,
Do you?
Well, I can't find very many places to wear it. Apart from the fact it looks like I just had a few minutes off from the operating theatre or the fish and chip shop. I'm not sure which, but still.
No.
I look nice in white. What can I say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually lost for words.
I can't believe that, Janice. Our guest today is...
Yes, Amy Dale is here. Welcome to the program, Amy.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about the Simchoon family.
Yeah.
There's a big story.
It is a big story. What's the background?
So many people are aware of the shop that's on Rundle Street in Adelaide, and it's called Miss Gladys Simchoon. But a lot of people don't know about the exceptional family behind the story. So the Simchoons had a number of shops in Adelaide over the period, and it really was a great business dynasty.
Okay, and this is the only one left?
This is the only one left. It's not in Simchoon ownership anymore. It was taken over, it's well known that it was taken over by Joff Chappell and his partner Razak, and has become a fashion boutique. But in the Simchoon family time, they sold many more different things. So nuts, they were famous for their fireworks, pickled ginger.
Oh, really?
Napery. Yes, it was a very much go-to place.
So where did they actually come from?
So John Simchoon is the father of the family, and he migrated from China in the 1890s. And he comes over and he's a hawker, and he's selling vegetables from his vegetable cart. He's going around the houses and selling vegetables. And after 7 years, he's able to raise enough money to bring his wife out, So Young Moon. And so they both live here in Australia and go on to have 4 surviving children. And the children all run shops eventually. So it really is a rise to fame.
Yes.
From, just selling vegetables to having this amazing business in Adelaide.
Good heavens.
One of the things that we often don't really understand, because we don't know our own background here in South Australia, but we know about the Cameliers who came over here, and we know because we've had people on the show talking about exactly that. But we really don't know a great deal about the other Chinese other Chinese people who came over here at a very early stage in the colony's development.
Absolutely. So Chinese people were attracted to Australia during the gold rush, particularly to Victoria. And in South Australia, the numbers of Chinese people weren't very large, but it was an area of debate in politics. It was raised as this Chinese question, and people felt threatened by the Chinese population that were here. Mostly they felt that the people were here to make a quick dollar and then leave. And there were a lot more Chinese men than there were Chinese women. So,
Because the men came out first and then brought their families out.
Yeah, the women didn't tend to travel.
No.
Actually, a lot of the women stayed back in China, and the men did go back home to their families.
Okay.
So the example of John Simchoon and So Young Moon is very rare. And we are talking about people in their hundreds, and the women would have been in the tens. But by the time the children come along and the business is thriving in the 1920s and 1930s, they're very accepted by society, and they're actually reported in the papers as, celebrities of the age. The trips they do back to China for business are reported with glossy photos. And yes, so they were invited to all the society events. We have photos of Gladys Simchoon meeting the Queen.
Was that right?
Yes, in the exhibition. It's just a gorgeous photo.
Oh.
Well, let's have a look at the family, because we need to know who we're really talking about.
Who these people are.
So, first of all, we have a photo of...
This is a family portrait from 1922. So unfortunately, John Simchoon died very early. Sorry, this is 1923, and John died the year before. So you see here in the centre So Young Moon, the mother of the family, and just behind her there is the oldest son, kind of standing there as the new head of the family. So that's George. On the far left, we have Gordon, who's the youngest child, and then it's Dorothy, who's wearing the white. and Gladys, who's sitting down in the chair wearing the dark dress. And it was Gladys and Dorothy who set up the shop that we know today that became the Miss Gladys Sim Choon shop.
And this next shot, they all look like this was a very special occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. At the front there, we've got Gordon, and he's holding a Sim Choon nut sign, and he's there, and he's got Gladys on his arm.
Was he there? What do you call them? We'd call it a suit these days, but their mascot. Was he their mascot? That's the word I was trying to find.
I think they're all getting involved right there in promotion of the business.
Yes, so, that's what I mean.
Yeah, very much
if they were selling nuts, that would be cooking the nuts, and he would be the devil cooking the nuts.
Yes.
Because that was a very popular image, wasn't it, then?
It was, yeah. And they've got actually on their chest there, they've got little peanuts hanging down.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you can see
I know.
that. Yes.
It's very cute. And all of the ladies there, they have ostrich feather fans, and they wear sashes that say the China gift store.
I knew I was missing something in my outfit. I needed an ostrich feather fan.
Or a peanut patch.
This is a lovely image of Rundle Street in 1909, and this is from the collection in the State Library. And what's interesting is the Sim Choon shops moved around in Rundle Street, and the location that we know today wasn't the original location. It was actually further down where they set up their original shop. And when you zoom in on this image, you can see painting on the wall where it just says Sim Choon there in the distance.
Right?
And it also shows the location of the current shop today.
It's amazing, isn't it, that...
And here she is.
There's Gladys.
There's Gladys. So this is a promotional shot for when she opened up a second store. When the Regent Arcade first opened in 1928, Gladys set up another branch of her store.
Tell me she was selling the new electric lights.
Yes, I know. Look at her there with her Chinese lantern. So Gladys is interesting. She uses her identity quite well as a very savvy businesswoman. So when she's promoting the shop, she's dressed in her Chinese clothes, and there's the lantern as a sort of sign of Chinese identity.
That looks like a hand-painted black and white photo too.
It is hand-tinted.
Which would have been the thing at the time as well.
Yeah, we have a few lovely hand-tinted photos in the collection, but they use these sorts of images in advertisements of the day in newspapers and such.
Well, you're talking about the collection, and that's what we're really here to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. So at the Migration Museum at the moment we have an exhibition called Sim Choon, Changing Fortunes in White Australia. And it is about the history of the Sim Choon family and that idea of how one family can go from selling vegetables to really creating one of the most memorable businesses in South Australia.
Fascinating
Now,
stuff.
for people from the other states, the exhibition is going until...
The 22nd of July, so it's got quite a long time.
So if you are coming through Adelaide, it's worth coming and having a look. But for those people that are here right now for the Fringe, it's a perfect opportunity to whip on down from North Terrace to have a look.
Absolutely, and we also have, for the Fringe Festival, we have TJ's Bar and Grill, and Andres Cucina has a pop-up restaurant. So it's a lovely place to come in the evening and enjoy the Fringe and the shows. And
Let's look out for that.
But that's a good thing that it's on in the early evening as well?
Yes,
what time does it close?
The exhibition is normally Monday all the way through to the weekend, 10 till 5. But there is late night openings on Friday, and there are special tours on Saturday and Sunday during the Fringe as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Do you know, how many other stories like this one are there here in Adelaide that you're planning to look at in the future?
So
there must be lots.
The Sim Choon family are very special. It is a very special story, but the Migration Museum holds 10,000 objects in its collection.
Just a few then.
Just a few. So there are a lot of stories, and we like to think that we kind of keep everyone's history, the history of the state. So, but the Sim Choon is a little bit special.
The thing that is interesting, though, is that they were kept, that these photos and things have been preserved. And you know, we were just talking a little while ago about, you were saying you've got none of the photos of your life. You just never thought of taking pictures.
No, not like we do now. You know, any opportunity you take a photograph, but just different things in my singing career. There were times now I wish I'd have had a camera to capture that moment, because I tell people the stories and it's like, well, where's the evidence?
Yes, exactly.
I don't have it.
But it's not just that. It doesn't matter what job you actually did in life. in most cases, the reality is they've not been preserved. So your family, as it extends and grows, don't really know, what did Grandpa do, or what did... And, you know, a picture of them working on a production line or digging a road or watering the garden or any of those things can be so valuable for the future. And also designating someone in the family to be the family keeper of the history.
Oh, that's right.
And you know, we don't think of those things.
I think that's a great idea. A family historian is a wonderful idea. In my line of work, I do tend to see people get interested in their family history almost when it's too late.
Yes.
It's very sad. Some of the stories are already lost. So we encourage younger people to, you know, speak to the people in their family. And also maybe get out some of those treasures now. Don't leave them in the garage, and have a think about what you may wish to donate to the museum in the future. We're always interested in, you know, donations about people's lives.
But not only that, but to actually maybe write on a sticker or something, put on the bottom what it is or where it came from. Or I've got a whole heap of stuff that would have come over with both parents' families, I don't know, sometime 1800 and something or other. In the Hazlitt family, there was a chap born on board the Kandahar ship, and he was called Kandahar. And, you know, that family history, he rode in the first steeplechase at Oakbank, and I've got the whip. But I'm the only one that knows that he used in the...
Yes,
you know, little things like that.
Yeah, so one of the things we think about working in a museum is the kind of materials we put with objects to make sure that they're going to be preserved for a long time. So the problem with sticking a sticker on something is it falls off quite quickly.
Yes.
So things like pencils to write on the back of photographs.
Then it can come off.
Well, a pencil, it doesn't fade with time and it doesn't damage the
lead
item.
Pencil
that's, you know, you can get a 2B pencil and that works great on the back of photographs or something like that. But other things that are really useful are tubs and boxes and acid-free paper, tissue paper, and labelling things is really important.
If you're like me, I want to see them all the time. Not fair. Look, thanks so much for coming and talking to us about that.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating, and it's some good advice too to think about in your family, just to keep that history. And we're going to be back with a bit of a chat with a friend of ours who's been on the program before.
Yes, he has.
About how we're going to be able to see these sort of things in the future when the electricity goes off. Back in a tick.
Here we are.
Yeah, it's welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
Look, we just made a joke about looking at the exhibition in the dark, and here in South Australia we have had year before last now, isn't it, that we had the blackouts, and we seem to have gotten through most of summer without too much trouble this year. So we thought it was time to reintroduce to you Finn Peacock, because Finn from Solar Quotes knows it all.
That's very kind. I do my best.
Finn, there has been a lot of changes, hasn't there, with solar panels, and now everyone's starting to talk about batteries. And here in South Australia, we've got the big battery. I don't know that everybody really understands what this big battery really means. I know we've heard a lot about it, but how does it work, Finn?
So the big battery is a very big battery attached to a wind farm near Jamestown. There's a lot of misconceptions about it. When we talk about batteries, we describe them in two ways. We talk about how much energy they store and how much power they pump out.
And for how long?
And for how long. So do you know the difference between energy and power?
No, I don't.
You thought they were the same?
I did.
Okay. So would you like me to explain the difference?
Please.
Because to understand the modern energy system and the power stations we're putting on our roofs, and especially batteries, we actually need to understand the difference between a kilowatt, which measures power, and a kilowatt hour, which measures energy. So the best way I've found to describe it is to use a bucket analogy. A battery stores electricity, a bucket stores water. The amount of water in the bucket is the equivalent to the amount of electricity in the battery. The bigger the bucket, the more water it can store. But power is how quickly you can empty that bucket.
Right.
So if you drilled a small hole in the bottom of the bucket, if you had a big bucket with a small hole, you'd have you'd have a lot of water but very little power because you would drain it very slowly. So you can have large batteries that you can only charge very slowly or discharge very slowly, and they'll have a high amount of energy and a low amount of power.
Right.
So when we describe batteries, we have to say how much energy it stores, the size of the bucket, and we have to describe how much power it can take, how quickly you can charge and discharge it. That's how quickly you can get the electricity in and out of the battery.
So you'd need a big hole.
You need a big hole for a high power bucket. So that's a
good analogy. Why hasn't the government explained it that way? Because that made perfect sense.
Well, because the government likes to, the federal government likes to take the mickey out of our big battery by saying it doesn't store much energy. I think, it will keep South Australia going for 20 minutes or whatever the numbers are. But it's not designed to be an energy battery, it's designed to be a power battery.
To chuck out a lot of power quickly.
A lot of power very quickly for a short amount of time to get us out of trouble. So when there's something on the grid goes wrong, say a power station trips, which happens very often, a big power station, you lose a lot of power and you need something to jump in there and keep the grid from falling over. And that's what this battery does better than anything else because it's a battery, it's instant.
I guess everyone's talking about saving the planet and it's hard to understand why governments aren't moving forward faster on these forms of energy. What's the hold up? Because the sun is going to be there every day, somewhere in the world. There's a lot of fear about change, fear of a change, as you can see. The politicians. Is it the same with candles to electricity? Are people afraid of it
people,
the same way?
When they changed from gas streetlights to electric streetlights, there was a lot of talk that it would be a disaster.
So we haven't changed a lot as human beings.
People don't like change. People don't like change.
Interesting.
Simple as that.
But are you finding, though, now with the solar panels that they are becoming more popular? People have actually realised that they are beneficial?
There was a big step change in our business July last year, and that was when most of the states' electricity prices jumped about 20%. People just said enough is enough, and the popularity of solar has gone through the roof last year across Australia.
But I guess there's another side of it too. Before, power was coming sort of one way into our homes, and now we're sending power back. Is the infrastructure capable of doing that that's in place now?
Yes, it is. CSIRO did a study probably 3 years ago, and the conclusions were, and I am paraphrasing, but I think it was, we can have a 50% renewables integration. So we can have 50% of our power coming from renewables, and the integration would be, I think their words were trivial. So it absolutely can cope. Right. We do have to be careful as it gets higher and higher. South Australia has already reached 50%.
Right.
And that's why we're having to build these big batteries and other things to even out the ups and downs of the solar.
But just only, I was just saying before about us renovating the house and having all these solar panels, and it is set up to have a battery. We don't yet. How big's the battery? I'm just wondering where we're going to put it. Where does it go and how big?
Tesla Powerwall 2, which is the most common one. It's about this wide. It's about that thick. It's about that high.
So it's like a water heater sort of size.
Yeah, it's ish, yeah.
But flat, rectangular.
But flat, yeah.
Right. And you did say the prices will go down gradually.
They're dropping quite quickly, 15% a year. So they're fairly expensive at the moment. If you want to install a Powerwall 2, which stores 13.5 kilowatt hours of energy, pumps out 5 kilowatts, that's going to cost you about $12,000 to add it to your solar system.
The thing is, Finn, if you're or people at home like me, I had solar panels put on the roof and I was a bit done by the company that did it. They said, this will be all you need and rah, rah, rah. Of course it isn't. The issue is that now if I upgrade the amount of solar panels, I lose the payout tariff or whatever it's called.
So you're probably, I think you were on the 50-cent feed-in tariff?
Probably, whatever the first one was.
Yes, you will lose that if you upgrade.
Yeah. Now, so if people have got the same as I've got, then we should probably look at the batteries fairly soon so that we could put more solar panels up. Would that be a solution? Or is that not the way to do it?
The battery won't let you put more solar panels up. That's the government saying, that's the rules of the feed-in tariff scheme, saying if you add more panels, you'll lose your feed-in tariff.
Yeah. But if I had a battery,
Yep.
I could be feeding into my battery and using from the battery.
You could, but you haven't really got enough panels to charge it. Because I think you've got 2 kilowatts.
Oh, I don't know what. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
But if I put up more panels, see, the problem for me and probably for you is that we had these panels put up, and we're told, yeah, you bet that's all going to work for you. But then we discovered later that no, we couldn't augment that to add more to it.
Yeah.
And still get the feed-in tariff. But now I've got these panels sitting on the roof and I want to put up 20 more, but I'm going to lose the advantage of doing that. So couldn't I put that into a battery and use the power from the battery rather than using the electricity and use that for a backup?
But you have such a generous feed-in tariff, you actually don't want to do that. You want to export as much as possible.
Yeah, but I'm not getting enough back. I want my whole roof to be one big panel.
Well, the economics have probably shifted, and you can do the maths. It's probably worth biting the bullet, losing your feed-in tariff, because you're probably not exporting much anyway because your system's small, and just going for a modern-sized system, which is about 6.6 kilowatts. And that, for most houses, that will close to wipe out your bill.
There you go. Something
That's what
to
I
think
want.
about.
Yes. Well, it's about people power, and with prices going up to the extent that they have been, everybody's concerned. It's the talk everywhere about we can't afford the power. Older people are sitting in the heat or sitting in the cold without a radiator, without air conditioning and so on. And we've sort of come to expect that living in the society we live in today, and it's how do we compensate one way or the other? I guess at the end of the day, it's something that's hard for us to really work out for ourselves. We probably need some expert advice from people like you. So there are people like you all over the country, though, aren't there?
There's good solar installers all over the country. There's also, unfortunately, some fairly
cowboys.
Quite bad ones. Yes, cowboys.
I say cowboys?
Yes, you can. Yes, yes.
And what do we look for? What's a good, honest company, if you like? I don't want you to say names, but what are we looking for when we negotiate to get the things on our roof or buy a battery or whatever we're doing?
You're looking for someone that will come around your home, that won't pressure you to buy a system. As soon as they start pressuring you, saying, well, there's a $2,000 discount if you decide, but you've got to decide tomorrow.
Yep, and
just
pay
say
me the money.
Goodbye.
Yep.
There's so many good solar installers, you don't have to put up with the bad ones. So I suggest you get at least three quotes. You vet them by getting them round to your home, not signing up on the day. Let them provide you with a quote. Do they look at how much electricity you use? Do they get up on your roof and measure your roof? If you have shade, do they use a device that measures the shade? So you can get devices that you put on your roof that every good solar installer has. They put it on your roof, it measures the skyline, and it tells you exactly how much shade you will get on that roof throughout the year. So you can decide if it's worth getting solar.
Well, clearly I had the wrong people doing my job because all they wanted was a photo of the roof.
Yep.
I never saw anybody until they came on the day and they put them in the wrong place.
The other thing a good guys will do
Seriously, they did.
No, that's shocking.
Seriously.
Oh.
They should give you a projection of your new bill based on your consumption staying the same, and you should be able to hold them to it. Because solar is very predictable. The sun comes out, the weather's similar this year to next year.
Will come out tomorrow.
Oh, here he goes.
Can't sing anymore, we'll have to pay for it. So in the future,
yes,
are we all, as new houses now have to have panels, don't they?
They don't. They have to meet a certain energy rating,
right?
And solar panels can help them get that energy rating, but it's not mandatory yet.
But it's wise for us to look at that as we're upgrading our homes, as you've just done.
As we've done.
I have a solar company, so I'm biased, but when you do crunch the numbers, if you own your own roof and it's unshaded, I honestly can't think of a better investment. At the moment in South Australia, the return, it's paying for itself in 3 to 4 years.
Right. And how close are we to making the whole roof a solar panel?
Well,
I'm not greedy, not at all.
You can, if you don't like the look. Solar panels are the cheapest way to do it by a long shot. If the aesthetics of solar panels offends you, there are companies, Tesla and other companies, that are making solar tiles. They are much, much more expensive. They are much less efficient. Okay. But they do look very nice.
But we're not quite there yet.
No, you can buy them in Australia now.
No, we're not quite there for a cost-effective roof.
No, they're very expensive.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Finn, just hold it there for a tick, and we'll be back in a moment. We'll find out a little bit more about solar panels and batteries.
So, Amy, thank you for coming in and talking to us. Remind us again about the exhibition.
So the SimTune exhibition is on at the Migration Museum until the 22nd of July.
Wonderful.
And Finn, what's the good news about panels on roofs?
The South Australian government has announced 24,000 homes are planned to get free solar and batteries, and those are housing trust homes over the next 2 years. And the following 2 years, they're promising to open it up to private homes.
But they'll be paying for their own power, even though their roof is generating.
They won't get the full benefit of those batteries. The government will own it and operate it, but they are promising a 30% reduction in bills.
So it's like developing a whole new power station on top of people's roofs.
Distributed across 50,000 roofs, yep.
See, that is actually thinking about the future in the right sort of way.
Yes, it is.
And we hope you think about your future in the right sort of way, wherever you may be across Australia. And until we see you next time, keep yourself nice till then.
Look after yourself and see you next time.
Bye.